Woke up late, charts on fire, red and green like a funeral pyre. Discord screaming LFG, but my portfolio's haunting me. Spiked my coffee with regret. Last night I longed to break out bet. Now I'm broke, not broken yet. Just one more pump, I won't forget. Buy high, die huddling. The gen brain dopamine's controlling. Ride the whale or get wrecked clean. This crypto dream's a guillotine. Fake guru with 1,000 subs showed me coins in shady clubs. Promised moons, Lambos and jets. Now I'm left with JPEGs and debts. Scalped my soul in a 5-minute chart. Market dumped and it ripped my heart. But I'll reload, I'll play to win. Even if I lose it all again. Buy high, die huddling. Gas fees burn, but I keep rolling. FOMO's gone, greed's the king. This crypto dream's a punk rock thing. In the glass, risk it all, no brakes, full gas. Liquidation, call me sweet. Whisper welcome to defeat. No stop loss, no regrets. Code and chaos, no safety nets. Satoshi's ghost in my DMs told me to ape again and again. Buy high, die huddling. Gas fees burn, but I keep rolling. If I crash, at least I tried. In this wild west of blockchain rights. I'll be trading till the lights go out. Charts are noise, but I live for the sound. One candle spike, and I'm back in town. Crypto's a fight, and I'm 10 toes down. Diamond hands with the crack in the glass. Risk it all, no brakes, full gas. But I'll reload, I play to win. Even if I lose it all again.
What's up, guys? Hope you have an awesome day today. Let's get that screen share going here. Alright, just gonna warn you guys I'm not feeling too good, so if I start coughing I might have to turn off the camera for a second. But yeah, we had a couple of setups this morning. They're really fast paced, so I couldn't give them as signals. I'll zoom in on it, but I'll show you what we're kind of preparing for in the macro vision as well. So let's delete this magnet for a moment. I'll bring it back up, I promise. Audio sucks? Okay, one sec. There we go. That's much better, right? How's the audio now? The power went out the other day, so sometimes it resets my mic and stuff. Okay, what we got in the chat? I'm gonna pull. We got Sterling. How you doing, Sterling? Coma, Noah, Blair, Mark. What's up, man? Sam, Andrew, Kyle. Please check your audio. All right, cool. All right, so Bitcoin has been doing a lot of picture-perfect moves lately. A crazy amount of picture-perfect moves. If we zoom out on the bigger picture stuff, Bitcoin has been inside this range for over 20 days now. We've been stuck inside this value for like 22 days. The on-chain data suggests that this is either this is the bottom, or we have a lot lower we can go from here, but that this is could be the bottom based on the on-chain data. Like, a lot of investors are coming in. A lot of investors are coming in at like new price points. So the new pulls are where you're setting. And if we get above this value area high, we can start coming after all this pooled liquidity that's above us. Like a crap ton of liquidity pooled here. And this liquidity can be used as exit liquidity to induce a reversal and back into this range, or it could be used as entry liquidity to finally break and get a continuation, finally break the downtrend momentum that's been holding us down since the all-time high, and then start going for 107K, where the daily strong high is right now. Internally, you see we came down here, we got like double distribution. We're at this volume shelf low within this valley area. We got the double bottom change of character off of it, and then we had a perfect pullback to retest the golden pocket from this low to this high. And that golden pocket retest, flip bearish internally. Then we had a good trade here, and now we're getting the golden pocket retest after the impulse move from this high to this low to this high. So if you pull an impulse fib before this move, after we flip bullish, right, during this moment, you're kind of looking for each step that we're going to come back and pull back so we can prepare for the internal unclaimed high to be taken. And we got a potential front run entry to take this high this morning during the trade hunting call. We had a couple of scalp opportunities. We had the golden pocket test to the here, got some noise. Golden pocket test and an SFP that brought us up to the downtrending momentum and the top side of this orb. Now we got a follow-up SFP right here. Acceptance into the orb, target the opposite side of the orb, and then we got to break above it, break the downtrending momentum to evolve our target to this supply where the VWAP is. But we really want to get above this, because if we start getting above this, then our trade's kind of set. Like we have to watch the high here along the way, but this high came to mitigate the supply here. So this is going to be a lot weaker than this moment. Before this was mitigated before. We do have an order block here that we could watch out for along the way. But if we get above this 97-day previous value area low, then we can start taking this unclaimed high and potentially front run the break of a trend bound move to a previous value area that's now acting as like a supply zone up here. And we're about to hit our 1 to 2 target soon. We're at the VWAP now, so we need to see that VWAP act as support. It's likely to act as resistance the first time around. So if we get a pullback induced by this, if you feel nervous about the pullback, just know that we have this previous high here, we have the orb here, so we have lots of confidence for a bounce if we do get the pullback, and that will just mean that when we get the break of structure, you'll be able to move your stop loss from the SFP and validation point to the newly formed internal strong low. All right, we just mitigated supply now. Let's see how we do from here. And we want to be closing above the VWAP so we can potentially get that continuation structure up or pull back, then close above it so we can evolve our stop loss sooner. Can we check pump? Okay, let me just pull. I would pull up my live so I can put the chat up here, but my internet has been a little bit wonky since the snowstorm started happening here. So I don't want to get cut out during the live. So if it seems like I'm talking to myself, I am talking to the chat. Sam, what's up, man? I hope you're doing well. I'm sick today, but I'm actually worse today than I was yesterday, but I don't like letting the community down, so pushing through it. We have gear. What's up, man? If we check H bar and arrow, we can do that too. Yep. So H bar, arrow, and pump are requests. Bitcoin, yeah, that's our rather than just stick to like a scalp environment kind of setup. But this is the supply concern I was talking about here that kind of helped induce the rejections that we had here as well. We have a lot of pooled liquidity between here and here. I kind of marked this as like a big golden zone just so we be aware of that. If you pull up the, where are we? Liquidation heat maps, and you do a wraparound of this valley area, which is about 20 some days old now. So you have to do a month-long look back. It's a month-long chart here. You can see what I'm talking about. So we took the liquidity from the order flow from this high, right about here. We had about $180 million just wrestling right above here, and we just grabbed that recently, and that's what kind of helped induce this pullback. That was likely used as exit liquidity, so large players could get out. We had a unsustainable pump here, so this pullback was very easy to predict for it to occur, especially when you reach a value high like this and grab that liquidity. When you have those unsustainable pumps, always prepare, like get the FOMO out of your mind because we're likely going to retrace. Like look at the last few times that it occurred. Unsustainable pump, pull back, mitigated pretty much the entire thing. Another one, mitigated pretty much the entire thing. And another one. And we've taken it all out until the golden pocket as previous high. So basically, what I'm trying to say is when you see a large volatile moves like this with huge volume gaps and order book clearance, you should expect that it could likely return back. So you just got to wait for the structural evidence that we're going to come back first, and then you can start going in on those moves because they usually return back really quick and create these volume gaps in the fixed range volume profile. So change character, inverse head and shoulders, whatever kind of structure you need during those moves when they occur. Expect a fast retrace. Going back in on the 15. And then we'll dissect it on the 5. All right, we got to close above the VWAP. We might get a tweezer reaction. We want a doji kind of reaction instead. So if we stay above the VWAP here, we're likely to get that continuation. We have that flat level candle. Let's see. We got to check the order books. When you see a tweezer forming like that, well, I didn't mean to type tweezer. You want to look at the order books right away. In case there's a giant sell wall that's inducing it. We have a big sell wall, but it's not near us right now. So most of the interest for sellers is at 92.990. So we should be set. 92990. So right inside this order block, we have a big sell wall right here. And if we go to the order blocks again, see what the value of that wall is. That wall is about 700 Bitcoin. So there's orders right now for 700 Bitcoin to be sold in this 5-minute order block, which is also, I think, the floor of a 15-minute order block. Oh yeah, pretty close. Yeah. So I'll encase that too. Just the lower side, because it'll get mitigated as soon as we tap into it. And the equilibrium point is really close to the ceiling of the 5-minute order block. So that's our next area of concern for this trade setup. We can delete this. This has been mitigated now. And we'll evolve our target from here to here. So always try to, I've noticed if I give the advice of basically using the risk to reward ratio tool as like a guide into knowing how to evolve your targeting. So like here, we're fully aware that if we're forced out of this trade, it'll be roughly a 1-to-1 around the orb high. Then when we broke above it, we could evolve our target to the next barrier concern, which was the VWAP supply. We broke above that. Now we can evolve it from here to here. just take it in stages, and don't just go from don't go from here and target up to here, or else you're gonna marry your trade and then end up holding it when you have an opposing confluences. And take it in stages, take it in steps, and have your alarms right below or above, depending which direction you're trading, those barrier concerns. What we have in the chat: stream gone, frozen. Can you guys hear me? Oh man. Yeah, I talked to Sterling about it. I was worried about the connection sucking. The only indicator that I have that I'm still live is when I see the viewer count. If the viewer count goes to 0, then I know I'm disconnected. Good morning. What's up, man? Dylan, obviously not asking for financial advice, but do you have any coins you've entered or looking to enter soon? If I were to make a recommendation, non-financial advice, based on the current state of the market, like Bitcoin should be your sole, your primary holding. You got Chainlink, it's a great one. Ondo. Right now, I'm looking at the my watch list here to help you out. Solana's in good position. It's right now Solana is actually fighting against a really important key level soon. Solana could rotate to, where is it? $170. We've got a massive rounded bottom, downtrending momentum here that could be broken. I have this arrow here because we're just talking about this actually. If we look at historical price action, we're inside of like a 250-day valley area. And this rounded bottom that we're forming is right on the valley area low. And the structural point of control is at 144. If we get above 144 and we use it as support, then we'll be going to like 170. So if I were to make recommendations, you can, of course, invest in some of these assets and just make sure you're not holding them for too long in case we start to shift into bear market conditions. Around the time Bitcoin is at like 107 area, we should likely get an answer around that time of whether or not we're going to continue this macro downtrend or if we're going to shift and start going towards the all-time highs again. Just because the daily posture, like that's where our daily change of character is. It's way the heck up here. And then by the time we get above here, a lot has to happen, right? We would have to be above the uptrending macro momentum again. We'd have to be above the 200-day EMA, the 50-day EMA again in order for all that to occur. So if we get above that, then maybe you can hold your alts a little bit longer. But if we struggle to get past that and we see any opposing confluences, then you might want to get out of some of your alts during that moment because alts will suffer a lot harder than Bitcoin would if we got that rejection around that supply zone. But the other scenario that could occur is when we get to this unclaimed high up here at the valley area high, and we start using this liquidity up here as exit liquidity, and we get acceptance into the valley area again, we could rotate all the way back down to 86K and potentially see continuations to take the low. And I know that sounds terrible, but it would evolve our key level for the daily posture to give us the change of character when we break above these highs here instead of waiting for us to go way up there. Assuming we took out this low here. Because our strong high will evolve. If we go to the daily, it'll evolve to pretty much right where we had this SFP. So here would be the strong high if we broke this low. Giving people another opportunity to buy, but you usually don't get that many opportunities to get in. You get a lot of opportunities to get out. Sometimes you take 2 to 3 opportunities to get out, but usually not that many opportunities to get in. We're getting there, guys. Yeah, good test to the VWAP. We want to close above this doji reaction. Right here, we close above the doji reaction there. We'll have a strong chance of continuation up. We close below this doji, we can deduce a range and reverse. And we have today we have news on FOMC, by the way, guys. So if you're in a position, I wouldn't be entering any new ones as we get closer to the afternoon. Around 2 p.m. Eastern today, we have potential rate cuts. And like rate cuts induce inflation. Inflation is good for Bitcoin. So that would be bullish if we got the rate cut for Bitcoin. And it would be kind of helpful for anyone who's in a mortgage right now. So people's capital will be more free and be able to do more spending. And kind of nice to see that rate cut before Christmas for everybody. Yeah, we didn't close above the doji here, so it could induce a range here now. Unless this one magically closed above the newly formed one. If this one closed below this doji, we'll have a bearish orb block in confluence with getting below the VWAP again, and we could see it come right back down to the orb to act as potentially a support. But then the VWAP will be against us again. And some people might close a part of their trade if we close below this VWAP in reaction to the potential of us starting a downtrend back down to where we started. Is this you in an... Yeah, this is an actual trade here. Yeah. Here, I'll pull... Yeah, this one's an actual trade here. This one was more of a guidance one on the left here. I didn't take that one. We were just talking about it, and I just didn't fully trust it. We had a member take it, but I wasn't one that jumped in. When we got to when we three tapped this downtrending momentum, it just basically helped advise getting out. But this one here is an actual trade. This is the P&L cards unrealized so far. And if we close the... let's go to 3 for a second. 1, 2 red candles. You can do it. Stay above the VWAP. Thanks, man. Sol's second main holding. Have you looked at Sol versus Bitcoin? No. Sol versus Bitcoin is good if you're using it to find out the relative strength against Bitcoin. Or jumping into a trade to see if Solana has more attention than Bitcoin during that moment. But no, I haven't checked it out. Let's see what Solana's doing right now. This is the 3-minute right now on Solana. We're dancing around that the golden pocket retracement. 786 is way down here at 134. We have a lot. Let's see. Let's delete this. You have more confluence on the 786. You have this demand zone right here. Pretty wide one, but send it back. Long. So if we breach this, we have confluence here for the 786 to potentially act as support. Now we haven't had a change of character after meeting this area. Right now our strong high is up here parallel with the VWAP. So if we closed above that, that'd be good confluence for a potential long. Unless we take out this low, then our key level is going to rotate from here to here. And the VWAP might catch up, so you can have that that confluence of the break and the VWAP closing above the VWAP. And then from there, target the unclaimed high up here while being aware of your barriers along the way that could induce a reversal. Like, for example, this order block here. order block here. And Bitcoin's king, so it'll move alongside Bitcoin quite often. All right, now we didn't close below the VWAP, but we're dancing below it right now. Okay. All right, let's go through some of these requests here, guys. H bar arrow pump. So let's take a peek at H bar. We have an H bar chart. I'm going to close half this trade, guys, on Bitcoin. There. Yeah, closed half. Realized 13.8% against my risk. Not my account, my risk. And some people see those P&L cards and they think they're making $1 million off of it. Let's see, get the hourly, there we go. Pull a fixed range volume profile from the start of this consolidation. After the supply was mitigated from this large move up, we could include that supply up until that mitigated point. We got a bit of double distribution again. So this kind of tells you the story that once we get above this volume shelf, we're likely going to rotate to the opposite side of the volume shelf. But it's going to act as a barrier until then. So we can see we had to act as support, resistance. So right now we're at the value area low. The price action tends to move quickly right here with this volume gap. You can see how we move quickly here, here. I kind of chugged along there. Fast move here. And then here. So what we could look for is the confluence of jumping into that value for a fast-paced move to the unclaimed high. Right now we're testing the inverse head and shoulders neckline. I'm good. One sec, guys. Sorry. All right, we're good. I'm alive. Can we look at near for macro? Yeah, we can look at that too. Oh, man. Sorry, guys. The cough is really annoying. All right, let's move this. We don't need this anymore. Move it right here for this hourly order block. We have just tapped into this bullish hourly order block here. I'll draw it out. Internal. Okay, so this is not a proper pullback here. Let's see. Let's go with the 15. Okay. There's a key level for the change of character. We have internal supply right here and a 15-minute order block in confluence with it. You can just focus on the order block. The reason being is because you normally would want to watch the low of a supply, right? The supply low is way the heck down here and it's been mitigated already from a lot of this price action. And we wicked up to the body level during that moment. So you could include the, if you want to add additional confluences to this zone of interest, you can include the 15-minute order block alongside the tip of this wick here, because there could be liquidity resting above that wick that can be used as exit liquidity. So you can prepare mentally for the bearish reaction starting at the sweep of this wick. So we could SFP here and come down, or we could close above here and then prepare for the 15-minute order block to potentially cause a problem for an opposing change of character for us to come back down. But if we mitigate all this, then the next spot of interest is up here. I completely missed that. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's zoom out a little further. I want to see where the impulse fib is. I believe we're at that golden pocket too. Yeah, we're at the golden pocket for the impulse fib retracement, the retest. So tons of confluence right now for H bar to go up, but Bitcoin's kind of king. So we got to make sure that Bitcoin agrees with us going up. H bar is kind of lagging right now behind Bitcoin. Bitcoin broke its key level after bouncing off the golden pocket already, whereas H bar has some relative weakness right now. So it's going to, sometimes when this kind of stuff occurs, Bitcoin will go up, right? And then it'll kind of go stale for a little bit while it consolidates. And then during that consolidation period, the attention shifts, the Bitcoin dominance will drop, and altcoins will start to go up from there. It's really, really, really common. And that's why you want to kind of usually look at Bitcoin dominance to make sure that you are trading on the right side of the fence. Is altcoins getting the most attention right now, or is it Bitcoin? Because it's usually not happening side by side unless it's a trend-bound move. But when we're stuck in a range like this, it's really important to look at the dominance chart sometimes. All right, but this is our key level right now for H bar. If we break that, then we watch our head here. But we hope for the continuation to this primary target in hopes that we close above this for more of a macro continuation. Because we're at a macro value area low right now. Lots of room for us to go up to this value area high at 15 cents. You're gonna watch the point control along the way at 14.5. I'm gonna fight these little mini bosses first before we fight the main boss here. And then if we beat the boss, we're going to the finish line. So this is a scalp trade that convert into more of a swing type style trade. And we got a tweezer reaction off the VWAP, which isn't great. And if it's bearish engulfing, then maybe we'll take the low here and then evolve our kilo from here to here. And then we'll have the VWAP confluence on the break 2 here as well. Better R&R in a scenario like that. And we're kind of fighting right now. But yeah, I'm going to just write some notes here really quick. Let's see. Note here. Okay, close 50%. Can I explain Ethereum on the 1 minute time frame? At 448 UTC-5 Bitcoin perpetual, or Bybit perpetual. I could do that. Yeah. We're looking at Ethereum today and the price. I think I know what you're talking about. You're talking about that crazy wick, right? Yeah. I think I know exactly what you're talking about. This guy? Maybe not. Five minute. This is Bitstamps chart. Let me just pull up Ethereum on Bybit here for you, man. Bybit. You're looking at spot. No perpetual. You said 448. I don't know why I'm doing this. I should probably doing this with the community, man, not during the live. But here, if you're talking about this big move up, it's at 448. I'm just hunting for a candle here for you. Yeah, to explain this price action, I had a bull. We're building a potential continuation flag right now off the 50-day EMA. We're getting squeezed between the 50 and the 200 very soon. They got the death cross here, but it's really common for when price actions go in range bound for a long period of time for us to get the death cross and a golden cross like right after. Ethereum's approaching the supply barrier up here in confluence with these EMAs. You just got to be a little careful, but Ethereum definitely has some relative strength against Bitcoin right now. Like lately, it's been chugging along in a uptrend, whereas Bitcoin has been suppressed and stacking a ton of liquidity above us. So I think that Ethereum's price action is less efficient as Bitcoin's right now. But if we get this higher high taken, the next little area to be watching out for is 3,456. If we zoom out on a bigger picture, the good news about what's going on with Ethereum, we have a potential, let's see, where's the, we just save some time. I got it all charted properly on my other, let's go back to Bitcoin. I know I get a lot of noise here. 15-minute, 5. Okay, back on the Bitcoin chart. Now let's pull up the Ethereum chart that I already created. Yeah, close some tabs before my live shuts down on me. All right. I'm going to zoom out on the bigger picture stuff. 6 hour. So Ethereum right now is bouncing. It's getting this is a proper form of acceptance into a structural valley area. This break of structure right here. This is the valley area low. This is the structural point of control. I know it's hard for you to see with all these lines, but that's why I'm drawing this for you. And this is the structural valley high. So this is a previous valley area right here that we just got acceptance into when we had this break of structure here. Right, we broke down turning momentum. This is literally the clairvoyant rules that I teach in the course, like verbatim. This is perfect. So we have, the only thing I don't like about this is that we didn't take this low for us to induce a change of character here, but we got the change of character when we broke this high. But we got the break of momentum at the valley area low, a break of structure for acceptance into the valley area, and now we can expect rotation potentially to as high as the structural valley area high here, where there's a lot of opposing confluences here that can knock us back down. The liquidity from this supply zone here, the previous valley area low, and the structural valley area high. So the first time around, we're probably going to hit our head here and come down. But when we zoom out, we can see how price action historically behaves after we get acceptance into the valley area and how we pretty much rotate to the opposite side of the valley area high, to the opposite side of the valley area every time we break the downtrending momentum and get that acceptance in the valley area like we did here. Rotate, downtrending momentum here, rotate. This time we hit our head off the point of control and then came down. Acceptance here, and now we're doing it now again. So if we get past the structural point of control right here, like we struggled the last time around this time and around this time, and we use that support here, resistance here. So we have to be cautious around 3,500. We have supply there and confluence with that structural point of control. But if we get past that, then this is our next target. Now, the macro picture of Ethereum is great, which is going to help you a lot with your altcoins setups, because If we know Ethereum is preparing to be trend bound, then a lot of alts are going to be preparing to be trend bound as well, because of the pairing liquidity that we have with Ethereum and with most, especially like anything that's built on a network, like AVAX or Solana or Sui. We have a lot of pairing confluence with Ethereum. But yeah, the price action that we have here for this the flag posture that we've got here is really ugly, so I didn't want to trade it this morning. Kind of trapped inside of this volume shelf resistance and volume shelf support here for like a long period of time, and it's kind of like a no trade zone. I like trading around the value area low, around the value area high for shorts, for longs, but not in between, especially not near the point of control, like a balanced point of control like this. I don't really mind, trading off of a break of a point of control if there's good confluence behind it, but otherwise, I'd usually stay away. When we break this high here, then the next little barrier we gotta watch out for is that structural point of control here at 3,500. So this is the unclaimed high, but until that unclaimed high is taken, you should be preparing to get out of potential positions here if you scalp anything internally within here. If we get a close above this, then it tells you you can stay in your trade and prepare for potential continuations. All right, so we looked at Bitcoin, Ethereum, HBAR. Oh, there's a weird gap. Okay, if you see gaps, that it might only be local to that exchange, and that's a form of poor liquidity, right? Kind of like slippage. So if you imagine if you were someone who trades with like, I don't know, $100 million, you can create a gap in the price action if you were to execute all that at once. Especially if it's all at once on one exchange. The gaps usually get filled. Kyle, the long you're in, I don't think you signaled it, at least not in Alex's Discord. What is your entry criteria? Yeah, we spoke about this during the live already. And the reason why I didn't signal it is because it's too... Like I could have... I know I probably signaled the level, but I didn't signal the entry because it was so fast-paced. And it was during a call with the community, so some of the community calls were able to do the more faster-paced kind of setups. The way I do my signals, you guys see how I do them usually, right? Where I'll tell you, wait for a candle to close above a key level. It allows me to give you like lots of time. But with SFP confirmations, you don't always know an SFP is going to happen before it happens. You can mark your level. You can mark your wick level and tell people to prepare for an SFP off that wick if there's good confluence off of that. But yeah, the confluence that we were looking at was the... we had the previous point control here, uptrending momentum, the impulse fib, the SFP that occurred structurally, and the fact that the SFP closed inside the orb, the 15-minute orb, at least told us that we could get that rotation to the opposite side of the orb, and then we can just be reactional if anything were to go wrong at the downtrending momentum and confluence with that orb. But we broke through it the second time around. And now what we really want to see happen is that continuation above this VWAP, close above here. We're getting a bit of a bullish tweezer. So if we close above here and have it engulf, that'd be great. Because if it engulfs, then we're likely just going to go right to the high now. We got 50 seconds on that answer though. And tweezer reactions is usually a sign of buy walls as well. But I don't see one. So it's just market reactions right now. Market order reactions. The sell wall has gotten weaker. Some people are not feeling as confident about this level being honored now. There's about a 500 Bitcoin sell wall now inside this order block instead of the 700 one that we had before. Well, it'd be a good time to move your stop loss to break even, so I'm going to do that now. There. Let's secure your gain. Yeah, secure your gains whenever you can. Right now, if we move your stop loss to break even, you have the guardian of this previous high and the orb. You want to have at least a couple of guardians protecting your stop loss if you do not have a strong low guarding it. Because if we break above this high, then we can move our stop loss below that newly formed strong low. But right now we have no structural guard other than the previous high here. So good to have some confluence protecting you during a scenario like that. Do you do your calls on Discord? No, I do the calls on Zoom. That way it's easier to record. People can talk to me a lot easier. It's easier to share my screen. Stuff like that. And I created a system that automates the recording of the calls to go to an archive, a Google archive, and then I have someone help sift it and then bring it into a whole archive system. People can go to it whenever they want. We have calls from like 2023. Hundreds of hours of stuff. Did I enter in the close in the 5-minute back in the orb? No. So we had the 5-minute close, but I was looking for, I entered on this doji retest to the orb low. So yes, you could have entered on that because that was the confirmation we needed, but I was trying to get in between the confirming candle on the 5 and the test of the low. So it's a yes or no answer. Like that's what we were waiting for the confluence, but I was trying to steal a little bit more R&R because I was worried about this being a potential barrier. And now we're coming down to that barrier to hopefully see it act as support. And if we get that support and we get the higher high, then we can start moving our stop loss into the profit zone. Zoom is a part of your Discord membership? Yep. Yeah. So in the membership here, when you guys join, there is a whole section here for elite coaching calls. This is the schedule of all the calls that we do throughout the week. These are all reoccurring. So we have a call with Brian on Mondays to go over the week, to prepare for what's about to come. Mondays are usually really slow in crypto land, so there's not that many opportunities. Monday, I think of Monday as like the prep day for the week. The volume starts to pick up around Tuesday up until Friday. And then, we have the trade hunting call on Tuesday mornings. We have the trade hunting call on Wednesday mornings. We have the backtesting call tonight where we build our own strategies together, find out what works and what doesn't and why, get the probabilities so you can use it for your own trading. Because when you know probabilities, guys, the emotions start to go away from your trading, right? Because if you jump into a trade without your rules, then the probability is gone. You just gambled during that moment, or you jumped in based on emotion. But if you know the probabilities, the gambling side of it is gone, right? And then we got Thursday. We have Alex O'Crypto doing, basically goes over the market conditions and his own strategy and teaches his strategy. Got market structure with Lucas on Thursdays. And then we have swing trader study. And he's really good at mindset too, as David there on Fridays. We're busy. And sometimes the trades are inside the calls if we're not able to signal it, because sometimes typing it and trying to enter at the same time is really hard. But I'll do information posts to prepare you for setups, but what an actual setup looks like is very easy to follow, even for. I'll give a little paragraph here, trade summary, entry condition, which is usually a close below a key level, stop loss, and target. And then I will basically inform you of every single thing that I do within that trade too. It's very hand-holdy. And then we also have like the level posts as well for the people that don't really need their handheld. And also to prepare you mentally for a signal when we get to those zones. Super sorry, guys. Yeah. It's still really sick. Okay, we had a request to look at some assets. I'm sorry, guys. I kind of veered off there. We have a request to look at pump. And see what pump looks like. One sec here. Move this here. Yeah, this is our current stop losses at right above break even. In case the 15-minute orb doesn't hold us support and this previous high doesn't hold us support. If we get acceptance inside here, we're very likely just going to come right down to knock us out. Okay, back to pump. We'll look at it on Bybit, spot. We have a daily order block here. How old is that? Pretty old. All right. It looks like we're fighting against the downtrending momentum still in the daily. It's been holding it down since its all-time high. It has dropped. We can delete this too, guys. Don't need that anymore. It's been from the high to the body low, 72% decline. The wick level is at 0.001485. Hopefully that doesn't get... And it sucks because now everything between here and here is basically internal. So we got to be trading off internal. That really messes with some traders' heads when you're trading internal price action. Sometimes when you have crazy wicks like this, you got to pretend that it's not internal. Just so you can actually don't feel paralyzed when you're trying to take those setups. We can delete this. Delete this. Now we have a new level here. We can see how we came up here. We mitigated. So we have a supply concern here. That kind of helped keep the price down. And up until that point of mitigation, we can actually create a fixed range volume profile from here to here for this range. And this is like this is what induced the range high, right? If you see something like this, this would induce the range low, the demand zone, supply zone. So we've mitigated a large majority of it. So next time we come around, it should be a lot easier to break through. But as soon as we get above the value area high, you got to mentally prepare for the shorts. Unless you had that break of structure off these highs. And that tells you we're likely going to go into a trend bound move to a previous value area. Or create a new one for price discovery. We have this uptrending momentum here on pump that we're starting to break. We have an hourly order block that was created above the VWAP. There you go. So this kind of posture is bearish internally right now. The reason why is because it induces liquidity below us, but keeps taking from above us. We had the supply here that kind of started this regression trend. We pulled back, and we started coming up and taking the high, pulled back, took the high. So we're taking liquidity, right? Every time we take one of these highs, but we're not taking the lows. So we're stacking and stacking and stacking. So we have more reason to come down as a market maker to take that. And so what I would be looking for, like I think it's a little awkward trading into a short right now leading into that. We have a barrier right here that could protect us from going down that low. But if we do come down that low, this is a great spot to prepare for longs again after taking the liquidity from the kind of like bear flag regression trend posture. So around here, I'll prepare for a bullish change of character and then start targeting the value area high again. Kind of like what happened here when we had that bullish change of character, value area high. And then oh, we had an awkward SFP moment here. Bullish change of character. You target the value area high. Okay. But that's pump, man. It's just looking like it's consolidating, stacking liquidity above us. If we stay above this point of control, I could potentially see this bringing price action up as an inverse head and shoulders. Kind of like Wyckoff model 2. And then drive the price back up from there when we break this downtrending momentum from the all-time high. And maybe start an uptrend from here. But you got to watch pump relative to Bitcoin's positioning as Bitcoin gets closer and closer to like a 107K area. If the bullish case scenario did occur where we got the break of structure above these highs, when Bitcoin gets close to 107, see where pump is relative to Bitcoin when it gets there. And if we have any opposing confluences like a bearish change of character on like a higher time frame like the hourly, then I would take some off the table for sure. In case that becomes the end of the uptrend, we start coming back down to these lows. But I hope that helps you out. Right now, the internal price action, a little bit messy. Yeah, we broke through the golden pockets. We don't have any Fibonacci confluences here. I don't usually trade off the 886. You could mark this external strong low. Well, it's external to the active price action. Here, if you get the SFP sweep, you can prepare for a bounce with the point of control confluence and then take the most recent pullback as your target. Going back to Bitcoin, see how we're doing. We're still holding above the orb, just barely. But we are on the 15-minute, we could be building a doji. Yeah. If we close above the doji, we'll have a bullish orb block. And some people take action on trades which with bullish orb block creation. If we have a created orb block, it's a form of structural confluence for longs or shorts if we have a bearish one. When they happen right on top of key levels, like the one that we have right here. So I'm hoping that we close above this doji so we can start seeing some pumpage here. The 15-minute looks good for that setup too, if it wants to take a little bit more time. I think it's called the open range breakout. First 15-minute candle. Yeah. You can call it orb or the OR15. Like Pluff said, it's the very first 15-minute candle that's created in the New York session. So a 9:30 candle that closes into 9:45. You get the high to the low of it. And the reason why it helps and the reason why it's relevant is because it gives you an understanding of how algorithmic market makers or algorithmic bots are being programmed for the day. So the floor of the orb will act as support. The ceiling could act as resistance. The ceiling could also act as support when you're above it. And this could also act as resistance when you're below it. And the price action internally, if you have a large orb, which is, I would say it's not very common, but lately it has been. Today is not one of those days, but sometimes the orb's so big that you can actually trade within it and use it as guidance, similar to how you would trade a value area. So you don't include the wick in the orb. You do include the wick, yeah. Okay, you do include. You go to the 15-minute wick to wick. just like with a order block, you want to include it wick to wick. Okay, what was it? On several, so someone just smashed the heck out of Ethereum. Yeah, or there was price aggregator issues, which is also just as likely. What was the other request we got here, guys? I don't want to miss anybody. I'm trying to catch up. Scrolling up. So we had a request for Arrow. We did H-bar. Okay, yeah, so Arrow is the other one. I don't think we have an Arrow chart, so I'm just going to pull it up here on Bybit. That's the 15-minute. Let's go to the daily. Ugh, ugly. Yeah. Well, that's not even a trend line. That's just a scribble. So, Arrow lost its uptrending momentum that's kind of held up since April. We were in this uptrend for 185 days until we basically lost the momentum. It used it as resistance and then closed below the 200-day EMA while using the 50-day EMA as resistance. So we've been in a downtrend since this high at 159 for about 111 days. We unfortunately are below this valley area. It's a good and bad thing. When you have a deviation of a valley area, it's really good for preparing for a setup, but it also puts the asset in a position where it can continue a more like a macro downtrend. When you see something like like a pullback to test a valley area and then a lower low, like similar to this, but this isn't a proper pullback, at least not in this time frame. But if you see a pullback and a lower low taken, you got to mentally prepare for a rotation down to other previous key levels or another valley area. We kind of got that inverse head and shoulders vibe. So if we close back inside the valley area and confirm this inverse head and shoulders, then we could see a rotation potentially to the valley area high again at 91 cents. Yeah, a lot of unnecessary noise on this chart that we could delete. We can mark this wick level here in case we SFP off this. It'd be good confluence for a short. And internally, low time frame. Here's the supply here that helped induce. It's tough to see with the VWAP covering it a bit. But we had this little supply here. It kind of like induce these pullbacks. The range high. So we can include that since it's been mitigated into the valley area pull. We got an hourly here. Internal momentum here. So it's at a valley area low. This is where you prepare for longs. We need to have that bullish change of character though. And right now we're flipping bearish. We got more of evolving momentum here. So the pace of the sellers have picked up. So we need either A. See, you get this impulse fit from here to here. So we're at the golden pocket now. So we need to have that bullish change character, break of momentum to start targeting the local valley area high in hopes that we get the break of this high for the macro continuation. So we do have front run potential here to a front run of the break of this high. And that can convert your scalp trade and potentially into a swing trade during that moment. We got really choppy price action within here. So we have a lot of barriers you got to watch out for along the way to that journey. Like you'd have to watch the 15-minute order block alongside this point of control and this high where liquidity might be resting. You have to watch these previous highs where they're almost equal. We SFP'd here, so it's not equal, of course, but we could have stacked liquidity here. We have order blocks here at the value high. So you have to take it one stage at a time. So you set your alarms just prior to your concerns, right? Set your alarms just prior to them. And that way you are not being overreactional, and just see if there's any opposing structural confluence after we hit those zones. Right now, the key level on the 15-minute is way up here. So what we need to see have happen for arrow is a 2 candle pullback and then a lower low. So our key level will rotate from here to that new strong high. And then when it breaks, you can look for your long into the value area from there. If we don't get it here at this value area low with the golden pocket confluence, then we have 786 confluence right here and this hourly order block, which is at 61.5. So I hope that helps you out, man. That's arrow and how I'd prepare for trading this thing if I traded it. But it's not one of those assets that I'd trade. If we break above this, we use it as support, it could be a good spot buy too for anyone who's looking for something to spot buy. But it'll be a short-term hold. But the good news is that short-term hold would still probably make you around like 20%. Going back to Bitcoin, see how you doing, man. Still holding. There we go. Double bottom. Not a proper neckline, but you need to have 2 consecutive candles here to when creating a neckline. Doesn't mean it's not a double bottom, it just means you're not going to have structural confluence when it breaks. We got the 5-minute order block being mitigated. We're getting above that VWAP, so we need to close. A close above the VWAP is not going to be enough for me. I need to close above this supply crunch here. Then I'll feel good. And then from there, I'll move my stop loss to the profit zone. It's kind of premature. You do want to have this high taken before you move your stop loss. But if we're getting above a supply, I think it's good enough for me. Because if we came down from there, I don't think we'd be going to our target anyways. It would be a really good position for the FOMC meeting, because I think that it might have a wildly bullish kind of structural event from that. Or at least a whipsaw of some sort. We have a really good distance. So you just got to be aware, like, even though your entry's down here, during the FOMC meeting, it sometimes is best to kind of give your stop loss a little bit more breathing room. So depending on where we are positioned at the time, if we're not above here by the time FOMC starts in a couple of hours, what we probably will be, then I won't be moving my stop loss just yet. Keep that breathing room. Kyle, you mentioned SFPs were 40%. Is there a resource that you can study these probabilities? We're creating the resource with the community. So every Wednesday at 3:30 until 5, I'm back testing with the community probabilities with SFPs. The probability that I told you guys with a percentage chance of it being, for it to hit its target, is based on 15-minute SFPs. No other time frame has been back tested yet. So we kind of 15 minutes is a bit of a flip-floppy time frame, but I've used the 15-minute has, I think it's responsible for probably, when it comes to my monthly income, I'd say it's probably responsible for about 60% of my monthly income from trading. Now we're above the VWAP, we got above the supply. Let's see if the supply will act as support and get above this high here. What's up? We have we have an Excel sheet that we spread along the community for all those probabilities. And tonight we're finding out the probability of SFPs against VWAPs. And then we're going to find out what kind of rules can we stack over top of an SFP to increase the probability of winning. And if we know our exact probability, then we can build a strategy off of it. If you build a strategy off it, then you can automate it. And we want it to be as mechanical based as possible. Link. Yeah, we can look at link. Oh, near and macro. Okay, so near, we have a near chart. It's just, we had a member of the community that asked for near all the time, so I had a chart for it. Zooming out on the daily here for a second. Oh yeah, we really want to have that move up here. Never got the confirmation. What we were looking at before and how we got this target is the price action before we broke this downtrending momentum, which was great. We had double bottom here. And we started fractalizing double bottoms. Double bottom, double bottom, double bottom. And if we broke that, the technical target is way up here. Now, if we do break this, we just still would be targeting around that area, honestly. Basically where this supply zone is here. This was our last key level for long, so we can delete that. This is our last key level for a short. We can delete that. And now we have a key level here, where this white line is, basically. Delete that and replace it. For longs again, right here. Can update this up until the moment we lost the value area. We can delete this. Our value area low is here. I'm just going to pull out a fib. I'm going to pull it from the value area high to the value area low. And I'm going to adjust it so that I can see the percentage deviation of the value area. And we're about 75% away, which is not great. When it comes to value areas, you want to be within that 50% range. They tend to give you the best setups, right? You can see that happening 3 times here, right? And this time we're kind of below it. So the probability is basically that we have a reduced chance of getting that return to the value area. And the likelihood that the value area is going to act as resistance when we come up there is a lot higher too, when you have that stronger deviation. Like deviation is great for entries, but when it's too far away, then you got usually more opposing confluences to worry about. We got a barrier here to watch out for as well. Like a daily order block. So if we break this key level, man, we could rotate to here and hit our head. If we don't hit our head and get continuation structure instead, then awesome. We'll likely get that rotation to the value area high again. And the way near performs, usually we ping pong our value areas fast and still manages to be balanced. You can see how quickly we return when we bounce, eh? Let's look in this lower time frame though. We're in the daily right now. So lower time frames here, we have a big supply zone right here. A little guy right here. This one's been mitigated. This one has been mitigated. So we only really got left is this stuff here. You can pull a fixed range if you'd like to the start of this mitigated supply here to here. There's uptrending momentum here. We're kind of on our journey right now to the local value area high, in hopes that we see this act as support and then run up to our key level so we can have that change of character reaction and start going up towards that value area low again at 226. But when we get up to the value area high, you got to have your bear goggles on first, right? Prepare for the worst first. But if we get the best, then you can hold on. Sorry. Could pull a fib from this internal low to the high. You got a 786 bounce with gold block confluence and uptrending confluence here. Zooming in again, 15 minute. 15 minute right now. It's telling us a story that we could hit our head right here. So just prepare for that. Our bearish change of character level is pretty steep down here with the VWAP confluence. So if we hit our head here, we could get like a pullback either here or here. Preferably up here, so we can more likely get that continuation. But if you get that bearish change of character against you, you could use as low as like the, let's see, the 3 minute time frame, bearish change of character, break of the evolving momentum, and prepare for, I would take some profits. I wouldn't close the full trade, but I'd take some profits during that moment. If you're in on a trade after the bullish change of character here that we had and break of downtrending momentum. Like this was the moment right here. I would prepare to signal the long. I'm not a knife catcher. Let's see. All right, let's see if we get this supply and VWAP back to support and get that higher high. On a lot of your charts, I see that you just using fractals of previous value areas. Are these the zones that react the most? Depends on the age of the value area. Age determines strength when it comes to value areas. So sometimes you'll also notice that I label the age of the value area just so people who use my charts are aware of the significance, aware of the strength. But yeah, it really depends on the age of the value area, whether or not I will recommend you kind of like preparing off them. So if we have a previous value area in the past and we're overlapping it with active price action, well, let's say, let's zoom out a sec here. There's some scenarios where you don't need to draw a new value area because the old value area data is just so useful. It's kind of redundant to just overlap it, but there's also like the to help reduce some noise. Let's say there's a value area right here. It's the value area high, this is the value area low, and there's like a point of control like right around here. And then time has passed, and then we came back into it from either the upside or the downside. It doesn't matter. When we get that acceptance into that value area, we normally behave the same way we did the last time we were in that range. And you'll notice that the point of control will be roughly around the same spot. The value area high would be roughly around the same spot, and the value area low would be around the same spot on the new price action range. And when that kind of stuff happens, I just delete this value area data because I can just use the existing value area data now that it kind of overseeded that information. It's a redundancy. So you just delete the redundancy, or you can keep the redundancy and not draw the new stuff. I would recommend drawing the new stuff and deleting the redundancy so you can, it's a lot easier to look left and see the confluences, and there's a lot less noise. And sometimes there's like fresh data on there, like order blocks and stuff like that, that could really help you out. But the aged ones I almost never get rid of. Like you see how Solana's behaving off of that 252-day one. Yeah. And the value area that we're in right now for Bitcoin, this big one here, is going to be really important to us in the future when we have a bear market. Because when we come down during a bear market, we're going to be watching these value areas like a hawk, because they're going to help us prepare for long bounces or continuations when we get acceptance into them. No problem, man. I hope that helps. That was literally the best suggestion I got on my value area overdrawing. Oh, cool. Right on, man. Gotta delete 500 lines real quick. Well, dude, I gotta do that too. If you zoom out on the daily, you can see mine. A lot of people want me to keep some of my lines, my charts, but I gotta get rid of them, guys. I gotta make this clean. I gotta undo this. Yeah, Sterling. Friendly reminder, guys. You like the video, it helps out the algorithm a lot. Helps us grow, reach new people, help them with their trading. Oh, it's not looking good though. We've got a failure to create the higher high, and we're getting below the VWAP again. So we have like this is called a flip when you see a lower high and we take out the low. Think of it like a front run to a potential change of character, similar to an SFP being a front run to a change of character. When it comes to flips though, it's really relative based on your positioning. I'm hoping that we hold here. If we consolidate here, we could be stuck maybe in a range until, what is this? Yeah, the 2 o'clock is the apex point. That's funny. This is the 2 o'clock. This could be helpful for some traders too, is having the tip of using vertical lines for significant events, like halving events and weekends, or the end of your session, or the start of an important meeting like FOMC. You can put a text here. There we go. It lets you be more aware. Why is the value area low so high in relation to where the volumes are? What do you mean, man? So like it depends on how you have your settings set up. You got to make sure you have your rows set up properly. You go to your inputs, 200 row size, value area volume is 70. When I back tested value areas in 2019, I've tried playing around with the value area volume a lot to see if I could refine entries. But man, 70 is perfect. Even though it's default, it's perfect. Row size will manipulate the data a little bit too. But basically, 70% of the active volume since your pull, your 2 anchor points. You'll have 2 anchor points, the start pull and the end pull, right? From that moment to this moment, this is where 70% of the volume is, right here, in this 20-day range. And this, they all have different postures and behavior, and they all tell you a unique story. This is double distribution. It tells you a story that there are 2 ranges of interest, 2 key areas of interest. So you kind of got to treat, in this case, the value area low similar to how price action will behave near a point of control, because you have that big node of interest here. And if you were to isolate most of these as their own unique value area, the point of control is going to be roughly around this area. See here, we got this point of control is really close. And then we got if we pull here to here, point control is right on that the value area low, right? And you'll have the same kind of story with these. The point control, this point control right here is flush with this, right? So whenever we go range bound in any of these areas of interest, we normally have ranges within the range. Especially when you have like a 20-day one like this, you're going to have internal ranges within a macro range all the time. But that won't be as common when you see a value area that's balanced and doesn't have that B format, right? If it's balanced, it'll look like a giant, like D format. And I'm trying to be careful with my wording when I say that. But yeah, the D format stuff means balance. Point control is usually rough around here. And we have less ranges, but more kind of whipsaw price action like this, like ping pong back and forth. The balanced ones are usually easier to trade, but these come with fun confluence for fast trades when you have this volume gap. When you confirm a trade and let's say you jump in long into a volume gap, they tend to move fast, right? Those are fun confluences. And it also tells you don't wait for the retest. Go in on the break, the change of character, or the break of structure, because you are likely not going to get that retest when you're jumping into a volume gap. Can we see TNSR on the 15-minute or lower where we would go into breaking up or down? Okay. TNSR. I feel like I've looked at this one before. Tensor, yeah. Descending triangle on the low time frames here. Slight ascending support. Apex point here. Zoom out on the hourly. I might freeze for a second. All right, I'm good. What are we waiting on? Ooh, look at that, man. Okay. So undo this for a second. One thing that's really helpful for awkward assets like this is to see how the value area developed. So you can go to your settings under style and click on developing value area. Mine's the yellow line there. So you can see, like, based on your poll, this is really good for back testing, by the way, is making sure you have that turned on. You can see here that the value area low and just evolved down here. So I'll be watching between before the previous value area adjustment to the 50-day EMA in confluence with this demand zone, and prepare for potential long soon at 0.973 or 993 if you're looking at the 50-day EMA. I remember we talked about this thing before where we were finally preparing potentially for a break of the downtrending momentum ever since it's like been on Binance. Has been a downtrend since its start. Deleted 98% of the market cap. Very ruggish. This is why I never recommend anyone taking a part of ICOs unless you really know the team. Let's adjust some stuff here. We have a daily order block here. That bear pennant, or sorry, bull kind of pennant style. What I like about this and why I kind of a little excited when I looked at the chart initially is the order flow of this pullback suggests a lot of pooled liquidity up until this moment. So, yeah, when you have that aggressive bounce of support, slow crawl down. A lot of traders are calling this the stiletto pattern now. This is textbook, though it's called the inverse Adam and Eve. If you go over here, you can have your stiletto and you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Right? V-shape recovery, slow crawl down, slow order flow, usually induces a strong pump when we come down to the demand. So what we're just lacking right now, if we go to the hourly, is that bullish change of character. We're still downtrending bearishly right now. Let's grab the momentum since the peak of that tweezer. So break of this, bullish change of character. You can long up to the value area high. We have barriers along the way. 13.2 is the 200-day EMA that we're kind of crunched between right now. Getting above that, our next barrier concern would be the point of control at 14.97. Right above these wicks, you could get an SFP and come right back down. If we, depending on where your entry is, if you enter down here and we SFP here, I would maybe take some off the table. Don't close your trade, because then you would have the 200 on your side to help induce a bounce to continue to the value area high, where a large amount of liquidity is. But around here, you got to be really cautious. You get that macro downtrending momentum that's been keeping it down since the all-time high. If we break above this high, see it act as support, then we can start seeing a potential macro uptrend again. But percentage-wise, if you did this with a spot environment, after you get the bullish change of character, it's 90% from value area low to the value area high. Just this pennant. So that's got to tell you a story about how low the market cap is. So just be super cautious with this one. This is not one that I would trade. Maybe a spot trade, but I'd be pretty aggressive with the strong low stop loss guards. So my zone of interest that I would recommend preparing for longs, roughly around here. Yeah, 93.3. Yeah, 0.993. All right, going back to Bitcoin's chart, see how it's doing against this little VWAP battle here. But there's so much volume below. And we're guarded by a volume shelf though, man. You gotta, when we're talking about this here, are you mean liquidity? Because there is a decent amount of liquidity below us, but there is more weighted liquidity above us than there is below us. Right here. We have double distribution, so you kind of treat it mentally like it's two value areas. So if we break this level, yeah, we'll come down to this area of interest next. That 87,650 is a good spot to prepare for longs if we were to come back down there again. But yeah, right now we're positioned for the news to give us a bullish reaction. All we need is an unclaimed high taken, see active support, and then I can see us going trend bound again to the upside. Okay. Kyle, do you got a video explaining how to use Auto Machine? I don't have a video for it, but let's go through it right now. So we have our burst trading channel, which is a strategy that Otto and I developed using multiple forms of confluences. But we have it set up so that it'll give you the entry for a short. Your take profits are labeled on the screenshot. Yeah, so it's pretty. So there's a scenario that only usually happens every like 1 in 20 alerts for this. So unless that scenario occurs, I'd recommend only using this in confluence with your trading. So if you're thinking short and then this thing says short, a lot of traders inside the community have been using this as great confluence. TP1 gets hit really common. It's really often to get hit. TP2 is really often to get hit, but TP3 is a bit iffy sometimes because they're a bit aggressive. It's all based on, it's momentum-based targeting. So like based on the momentum, it will suggest where it's going to go from there. There's a POCB rule, and that's the main rule for the strategy that makes it have such a high win rate. And that rule is if we have, let's say if you're in a, let's see if we can find an example. If you're looking for a long, you'd want it to be below the POCB, this moving average right here. If you're looking for a short, you want the confirming candle to be above the POCB. And if that happens, then you use the suggestive stop loss that it gives you here. And the stop loss is only a 2 candle look back. So when you have the POCB rule met, you count 2 candles back, and then that's where you're going to find the stop loss suggestion. And from there, we have like a really high win rate of that. I actually don't remember the win rate, but it's above 70%, below 80%. And where I figured out a way to automate the forward testing results. So every single time we get a signal, I figured out a way to automate the results of that signal and put it into an Excel sheet for you guys, so you can get notified real time what the win rate is of the strategy since the launch. And we also noticed that it's profitable on Dogecoin, so we recommend on Dogecoin. Dogecoin is actually more profitable to trade this strategy on than it is with Bitcoin. Just because it's more volatile. What if they report that we don't get an interest rate cut? I expect the kind of reaction if we don't get a cut to be pretty stagnant. Like we'll either A, get a rejection or sideways. If we get the rate cut, then probably pump or sideways, right? It would be bearish if for Bitcoin, if we don't get the cut, because it kind of tells the story that they're not going to be printing more money, right? Money printing is good for Bitcoin because it devaluates the US dollar and increases the valuation of not just Bitcoin, but assets in general, because it'll be weaker against them. Oh, by the way, Coma, you can look at the pinned message as well at the top. I go over it in a lot of detail here, things about this channel here. And you can get your role added too under the alerts and roles section, so you can get notified whenever a signal happens with those channels. Yeah, I was gonna manually update the forward testing form, but it's like a full-time job. I couldn't keep up with it and other things as well. But yeah, I found a cool way to automate it, and it'll also, the way I'm going to automate it will also tell us what kind of fees to expect based on leverage and stuff like that using the strategy. So it'll be a lot more live data based on like how you'd actually manage your risk and stuff. Are we getting that momentum break? Let's see if we get above this high. Okay. You guys excited for Christmas or Hanukkah or wherever you celebrate? One thing that I do during Christmas time is I will have a certain amount of, like an account allocated to gifts. I didn't do it this year, but last year what I'll do is like, oh, okay, if I want to get this gift for someone, I need to have like 1 or 2 wins, right? So I'd do stuff, then pull from the account, and then I've never had to pull from my savings or anything like that for Christmas. Just look for the opportunities during the month of December and pool an account for that for gifts. Alrighty. Well, guys, I gotta head out. I'm gonna try to have lunch, and then I got a call with the community at 3:30. Congrats to anyone who was able to jump in on this trade. Probably just members, unfortunately. We weren't able to take it during the live itself, but yeah, I gotta head out. On Friday, we're doing the giveaway, $6,000 account to Klein Funding. I appreciate you guys for following, subscribing. We're growing. We're getting there. If you guys are struggling with anything, reach out to me in the Discord. I'd love to help you out. And Noah, yeah, I know it's kind of frustrating that some of the signals are happening inside the call, the elite calls. And I'll try my best to find a way to get the signal out there for SFPs. I don't like the beginners making mistakes if I don't communicate it properly. Hey, from Abu Abda. That sounds cool. Cool place. Iris Kate, what's up? All right, guys. You have a great day. Reach out to me if you need any help with anything in the Discord. I think on Friday we'll create a new coupon code for anyone who might be interested in joining for like a Christmas deal or something like that. Alrighty. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one.